Football.
Well, from the button-down NBA Dane Moore, who brings a wealth of knowledge about his league, we now go to Randy from Cottage Grove because he called us and said, "I got to be on," and we said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I got a stud stable at 5-1 that my public can't miss." That's right. He said, "My public," and I said, "But it's our show," and he said, "I don't really care." Randy, what's going on? Are you sober right now?
Of course, Randy, apparently, as he likes to do, just drop back off. But I think
Did
it's
he
because
drop off?
he claims he was sober. Now he claims, I don't know. Randy, are you okay?
It's Randy.
Randy,
This is off to a rip-roaring start. Are you feeling okay? Are you sober? And if so, when did your blood alcohol drop below the legal place where you can actually drive a car, Randy?
You know, as I've said earlier on this program, one of the place we'd like to party on during game day does a different sorts of shots for different sorts of outcomes.
Okay,
A sack is a shot.
Oh boy,
a touchdown is a shot. And one of the bartenders was being real generous and doing what they call pressure shots, which if you get pretty good pressure, you get in the backfield, knock a guy down. Yep. They might roll another. In this week, they did Jello shots.
Declan, how many pressures do the Vikings have on Sunday?
Well, Za'Darius had like 11 individually, so
we owe him. We owe thank you, Za'Darius. You got a lot of us real lubed up.
How many Jello shots did you do, or at least when did you lose count?
Well, Jello shots are, as I don't have to tell you, Jeff, probably from your old days. Right. They're easy to take. You do lose track of them. You do lose track of them, and a lot of people like to suck them out. I do a little different. I put them upside down and tap on them, and then they just fall right out onto the lid, and then you just swallow it. I don't even chew it or anything, just right down the hatch.
Oh wow!
What type of sack shots were there? What was the alcohol of choice for a sack?
It was a dealer's choice. Typically, they do like a grape ape for touchdowns, and for sacks, we were shooting cinnamon the fireball.
Fireball. I love a grape ape. Randy, do you do the races with the grape ape? Do you get your buddies around and do the race? Because I always do the race with the grape ape. 2 straws, and whoever finished last has to pick up the tab. I don't know if you do that, but that's also free advertising for you now.
I would never finish last. I'll tell you that right now.
Of course.
There's a lot of things we used to do. What's called like a blue light. You get a bottle of Bud Light, fill the neck with blue. The blue raspberry, the Black House, the blue it's like Rumpy, but it's the raspberry flavor, 100 proof. Put that in the neck of a Bud Light and mix it up. Call it a blue light. You knock 2-3 of those down, you got a great head start.
Before we get to the stable, one question for you, and I know it's a drive, but SKOR North had a viewing vent line party at Surly on Sunday, and there was more than one person who asked me, Judd, where is Randy? And I said, I don't know. Did you consider joining us? And if so, what stopped you from joining in the fun and for the first time ever really coming out and addressing your public?
Where was this at?
Surly Brewing, Minneapolis.
Is it one of those? Is it like a micro brew?
I don't know what we call it micro brew.
I don't know if we call it a micro brew.
It's a brew house of some very fine beers.
I've had that. My friend's nephew has we built him a kegerator, and he didn't put domestic in it. It was one of those hopsters, what they call them, like an IPA. It was good.
Yeah.
I like
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm still, like I said, working out some kinks from a legal perspective, and part of that is going to be to get my insurance reinstated so I can drive a vehicle legally. I don't want to ride dirty, as they say.
You could have gotten a ride from somebody, Uber perhaps.
There's a lot of good bars in Cottage Grove, Jeff. I don't know if you.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. We're just disappointed.
Well, why don't you host one out here? You can do Jello shots.
Yeah, Judd.
I don't think I can do Jello shots and then vent line, let's say, responsibly, Randy. I think that might be a mistake on my part. I think I might be if I tried that, I'd be as unemployed as you are right now?
If you believe in yourself, there's a lot of things you can do.
Wow, that's deep. Jeez, Randy, I didn't know. Okay. 5-1 Vikings. 5-1 Vikings.
They haven't lost since I got my chill boys, by the way.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about them, Randy?
Do the spot.
They're great. I mean, I don't believe they are compensating me for a spot, but I'd just be a satisfied customer. I haven't washed them yet.
Well, you should wash them.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're very cool, and they don't get the stink that other underwear gets.
All right, Randy. Thank you very much for
Thank
that.
you.
Chill Boys is great. Okay, so stud stable for the Dolphins Vikings game. 5-1 at the bye. The music is playing. The floor is yours.
This is the 5-1 stud stable. This is a stud. Once again, 4 now in a row stud stables. And I said, the first one, we're not going to lose for a while. Turns out old Randy was right.
Yeah.
Number one, we're going to start out with a guy who, he's a little long, maybe a little long in the tooth, but he absolutely, during the game, I said, I tweeted on him that he's going to be in the stable, and he absolutely was. And his name is Patrick Peterson. Patrick, you may be a seasoned vet, but you were out there being a disruptor, getting in everybody's mix and doing it in a smart way. Not a lot of flags this week. Very, very disciplined defense.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick, you are a stud.
I love it. He locked it down yesterday, Randy. He locked it. You were locking it down at the bar. He was locking it down against Jalen Waddle. He was making sure the clamps were being put down. I like it.
One of the ways that we absolutely locked it down at the bar was those touchdown shots, and one of those came from a little gentleman but we may have forgotten about him, by the name of Delvin Cook. Delvin,
Yeah.
A lot of people, including on this program, seem to think you lost a step or two. Well, maybe not. Maybe that extra gear kind of got lubed up on Sunday, and you were able to pop it into fifth and hit the gritty, as they say. And I like it. I like it, and I like that you're coming into your stride. Now you got a bye week to kind of grease it down and get that deep tissue work done, and you're ready to rock. Delvin, you're a super stud.
Look at you, deep tissue rubs. You are.
Yeah.
You know what?
He's
People
familiar
sell
with
you
that
short.
with his jock itch, right? That you're familiar with
Tania
that, correct?
Kuris.
Oh,
The jock itch?
Tania Kuris. And
Don't tick him off before he's done.
Finally,
Stud stable. Yes, sir. Yes.
Here's a guy who's starting to become a little bit of a fixture in this stable, and he's made a couple appearances so far. And the way he's getting us those shots, the pressure shots, and certainly the sack shots, this is a guy who's all kinds of disruption, whether it's him getting to the QB or causing mismatches elsewhere. This is a guy who's been an absolute steal. Whatever we're paying him, it ain't enough. Zalarius Smith, you definitely have cemented your reputation in a lot of hearts of people at the bar I drink at, because we get shots every time you go do your thing. So you just keep doing it. You take that bye week and get nice and healthy, because Zalarius, you are a super duper stud.
Should we tell him at some point or no?
Well,
I feel like we shouldn't.
I don't know. I kind of like that it's Zalarius. No, I don't.
So it'd be
Called you Jeff.
It'd be Z-A. Yeah, but I don't care about that. But it would be Z-A apostrophe L-A-R-I-U-S. Zalarius.
Zalarius. Yeah, I mean, he's been joining Mackie and Judd for years now, and he hasn't gotten we say Mackie and Judd every time when he joins the show, and he still opts to call you Jeff.
Well, he's also called
He doesn't know
Phil.
my name.
He's also called Phil Jeff before arbitrarily
That's true.
too. So I don't think he knows Phil's name either.
He doesn't.
But that
He doesn't know my name.
Boy, you know what hurts about that?
Wow.
What hurts about that is I have done a lot in the past few years, Declan, to improve myself, to be the best Judd I can be. Not the best Jeff, because I'm not named Jeff. I've been mistaken for Jeff a lot. But to be the best Judd I can be. And one of those things that I did just over a year ago now was join the fine folks at Livia Weight Control Centers on a weight loss program, not a diet, not a fad diet, a weight loss program that 100% works. And you know what? I had somebody come up to me at the party on Sunday at Surly and say, you know what, Judd, thank you very much. I dropped 30 pounds because of the program. Livia works. We've had people who have tweeted at us, emailed us from the country, Vikings fans in California, Tennessee, saying, you know what, I joined and lost weight because it can be done in town here. if you go to one of their locations, but it also can be done virtually. And if you join right now, you're going to receive 8 weeks for free. That's right, 8 weeks for free.
Wow.
Imagine all the weight that you can drop in 8 weeks. And the new Flex program, it's even better. You can eat your favorites, fruit, pasta, even bread. 855-GO-LIVIA, livia.com, livea.com. Livia is where weight loss starts, and all those clothes that you want to get back into start to fit as well, livia.com. So after the game last night, Wild Avs game, Declan Goff and I, together, side by side, sports dad, sports son, in the press box, watching that tilt. We did a Judd's hockey show from the X live. And by the way, for all of you who stayed up late and watched, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome to see. But now is some time to sleep on an 0-3 start. After the Wild lost a game to the defending Stanley Cup champions in which they 100% could have won, aside from some incredibly shaky goaltending by Philip Gustafsson. In a post-game press conference in which we both agreed, I think, Dex, that Dean Evason was sort of searching for answers. And the team, by the way, has today off now. Like, go clear. 3 games in, go clear your head off.
That's right.
What are your thoughts having slept on the result and the Wild now 3 games, 20 goals against, which, is brutal. That's awful.
If they can't fix their goaltending, it's going to be just extremely problematic. And are there areas too where the defense has not been able to bail them out? I look back at that Rangers game and a lot of just great tic-tac-toe passing, and it's a great offense that the Rangers have. So, sometimes you just got to tip the cap and say, hey, you're not going to win every game. You're going to get dominated by some good teams. But I think in the last 2 games specifically, it's been really bad. It's just been, there's not really much of an excuse you can make for good offense or good play. And look, I know Colorado's the reigning Stanley Cup champions. I'm not trying to rain down on that parade. But the types of goals that they're allowing right now are just unacceptable. Their offense is good. I think their offense is fine. I don't have much of an issue with their offense. There's certain players, Ryan Hartman, for example, who aren't living up to potential or not playing up to par per se. But in general, I've liked what I've seen from the Wild's offense. Their goaltending is literally shipwrecking them right now. It's in the pie chart. It is 90% of the reason they are 0-3.
Yeah.
And if you want to figure out the last 10% of that pie and put nitpicks here and there, go for it. But 90% of the reason you are 0-3 right now is because of your goaltending. It's absolutely putrid.
Yeah, and I felt like in the Kings game, I felt like the whole defensive structure was poor. And then, yes, but you're right. Ultimately, you've got to make some saves. Last night, you can just pick out 2 or 3 goals that can't happen. It's a National Hockey League game. The McKinnon dump in that Gustafsson botched and then got knocked in by, I believe, Rantanen cannot happen. And if it does, it's going to cost you a game, and ultimately it played a big role. I don't know. So it's 3 games in, I get that, okay? But here's where I will say for those, and I haven't seen this a lot, but I'm just as an example, Dex. For those who say, well, it's 3 games. Come on, I mean, Dean did say it's early in the season. But when you're giving the team off to clear its collective head 3 games in, when you have a team that looks like it played, and I'm telling you, the only thing I can equate this to is it looked like the Wild made a deep playoff run. Like they've come back and they look lethargic. They're not playing smart hockey. And again, the goaltending is bad, which submarines everything because everyone's confidence goes way down then.
Yep.
But all of that being said, I don't think we can just dismiss this completely because of how it's looked. If you had lost games, if the scoring wasn't there yet, Dex, let's just say they lost to the Rangers 4-3. They lost the next game 3-2, and then last night 2-1 or something like that. I think you would say, okay, that's a little bit concerning, but the scoring will come around. But the fact that everything is so out of whack and the fact that you have given up 20 goals in 3 games, I mean, goal scoring is up, but this is ridiculous. I think what we said at the end of last night's JHS remains my biggest thought. You need Fleury to have a big game Thursday. Like he is definitely off. Like he looks off. Post-game locker room, he looks off. You need him to have a semblance of confidence and come back on Thursday and play well. Because one, Gustafson's not the guy. He's just not. And two, to your point, you're scoring goals. And everyone's confidence. I mean, if Marc-Andre Fleury has another bad game, that drags everyone's confidence down. And in my opinion, that's what we're seeing now, which is we score goals, and then the goaltender just gives up a goal.
So far this season, looking at goals saved above expected. So with that's a metric that basically takes what shots are the goalie preventing in league average save percentage situations. So basically, is the goalie stopping league average shots in areas that he should be stopping in? Right now, as collectively with Marc-Andre Fleury and Philippe Gustafsson, they are -9 in terms of goals saved above expected. You want to be 0. You want to be at least 0. You want to be you're stopping all the pucks you should be stopping. Once you're plus, that means you're stopping above shots that you should be stopping. That's a good area to be. So technically, because of the empty netters, the Wild goaltenders have allowed 19 goals this season. So 19 true goals that the Wild goaltending has allowed this year. You have -9 goals saved above expected. So that means 9 of your 19 goals are strictly from poor goaltending. Absolutely horrible goaltending. Last year, as a team, collectively, between Kakkonen, between Tam Talbot, between Marc-Andre Fleury when he was here, the Wild team's goals saved above expected was plus 9.7. So as a team, that's slightly above average. It was fine. You got by with it. You won 113 points. You weren't negative in your goaltending. You could have certainly had better goaltending, but you'd take that. You would take that as a team from your goaltending, that you're above 0. You're stopping some pucks that are even above the expected rate. But right now you're -9. So you've allowed not over almost 50% of the goals that the Wild have allowed this year have been completely just non-starters. They cannot allow those types of goals.
Yeah.
Now with Fleury, he's played 79 minutes. Actually, Gustafsson's logged 95 because he relieved Fleury after the Kings game. So Gustafsson has actually been in there for about 15 minutes more than Fleury has. But this falls on Marc-Andre. Like, Philippe Gustafsson's not going to save you, and nor should he. The expectation isn't he's not going to save you. It's on Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, I will say, even though he looked poor in these first 2 games, there aren't many other goaltenders that I can trust that I think can bounce back mentally from this, like someone like Marc-Andre Fleury. And that's someone, I know he's older, but just mentally, he has been here before. He got pulled in playoff games and still saved his career, right? He has won Stanley Cups. He's gone to different franchises. So in terms of goalies that can pull themselves out of the muck like this mentally, there's a very short few amount of goalies that have had this history of being able to do so. Marc-Andre Fleury is one of them. He has a track record. The problem is he's 38 now. Right. When you get pulled in, the Cup playoffs in, what was that, the first time, 2014 or 15, and Matt Murray comes to save your day, well, you're still 30 years old, right? Like you still got a lot of career ahead of you here.
Exactly.
Marc-Andre knows he's at the end of the run, but I will say he's had a history of doing so, but the pressure's on Marc-Andre Fleury to do so. He has to dig them out of this hole.
And I guess what concerns me the most along the lines that you're talking about too is the fact that Flower seems to have picked up where he left off from the playoffs, unfortunately. Like, it's lingering. And it's been months. So, like, he came here, he had a rough year in Chicago, which I totally get. That team was terrible. Gets traded here, comes here and plays pretty well. Becomes the primary guy in the playoffs and struggles. No question about it, right? And now my problem, Dex, is that it's like he picked up with that. And so I guess my question is, why couldn't you get yourself out of that? And what's weird is, in the preseason, he looked absolutely fine. It's like we flipped the lights on opening night and the pressure increased again. And what we saw against the Blues, because, again, against the Blues, he did you no favors. Like, he was supposed to be the backbone, which is why he started until the last game when Cam Talbot made his last start in goal for this franchise. And he was supposed to be the backbone, and he wasn't. And so it's a very odd thing. What did you make, too, and we didn't get into this deeply last night, but what did you make of Dean's post-game presser?
Yeah, it was interesting. He seemed still pretty, I seemed to gather that he still seemed pretty positive they're going to dig themselves out of this. I don't think he wanted to panic. I didn't think he wanted to have the panic button of if I start to panic, then the room starts to panic, right? He doesn't want to be a pushover. He's looking at it as it's the beginning of the season. You can still dig ourselves out. We're not, blowing a division lead here. We're not crumbling as the playoffs near. It's 0-3. Certainly not an ideal start. there's still plenty of room to rebound here. Past Wild teams have shown that they've started slow and then kind of gotten hot.
I agree with
So
that.
it's not the end of the world, but I just thought I thought he'd come in a lot more pissed off, and he wasn't. And I'm not saying he should have been more pissed off to us, us being the media. But
Right.
I was a little surprised that he just seemed like, yeah, they'll be fine here. We're going to dig ourselves out. We're going to give them the day off on what now is Tuesday. It's going to be just fine. Come here to work on Wednesday. We'll dig ourselves out. It's not that big of a deal. But I was surprised how spirited he was after losing the third straight game to start the season.
So I think as far as the press conference goes, that's the only play. Because if you come in now at 0-3 pissed off, you're in trouble. The underlying factor of the press conference, though, that I picked up on that I thought was really intriguing was he's clearly very confused as to why the hell his team looks so bad. And the goaltending is a huge concern. And he's trying to downplay that by saying it's the rest of the team as well. It's the defensive thing, and that's fine. But I think that there's a lot of confusion about this start on his part. And you can clearly see that he didn't see it coming. Like there's sometimes I think where your team struggles or you're not playing well, or you just have a collection of guys who are slappies and you're like, okay, this team's not that good. I will say the positive things and then leave. But as he was answering questions and being pressed a little bit more, I felt that I felt there was a lot of what the hell is going on here. And I think they might have taken today off as much for his sanity and sake to look at things as their own. Because I think that this start and how it's looked. So 0-3, because just to be clear, you're right. There's 79 games left. Just to be very clear, on the surface, 0-3 is not bad. Like it's not good. It's not, but you're going to have a down stretch at some point in time. It just so happens the Wild has come at the beginning of the season. But where I think Dean is perplexed is this. I think that he believed, that Fleury would rebound after the playoffs and play well. And now you've given up 19 goals against your goaltenders and 20 goals total in 3 games. And now you've had at least back-to-back games where, to your point, offensively, you did enough to win those games. Mm-hmm. So I sensed he was trying his best to remain as calm as possible in front of us while being really thrown off by what we're seeing, probably mostly from goaltending, but also the blue line as well. Like they're trying to get Goligoski to 1,000 games, and I'm going to tell you right now, he looks slow. He looks like a guy who could easily be scratch decks. Brodeen, at least the first 2 games for him, got off to a terrible start. And I mean, that's rare because he's like the most consistent dude there is.
Yeah.
Spurgeon doesn't look like Spurgeon yet. Dumba has done, in my opinion, very, very little. So I think with Dean, he's trying his best to reflect a calmness. It's going to be fine. But I think there's a genuine concern about how this looks. Not the record, but how you got to the record.
Yeah, and I think that's where he wants to remain calm, because if he starts to panic, then the room starts to panic, then things just start sputtering out of control. But he talked about them playing with anxiety too, in their own zone, which has been an issue. That's clear that they're playing with some, form of anxiety that they can't seem to figure out, that when they're in their defensive zone and how to hold a lead, or just letting in these fluky goals, which comes down to more the goaltending that does the team. There's been a lot of good things that this team has done, and it's basically falls on goaltending being the biggest culprit to why they're 0-3 right now. They're 8th in offense. They've played 3 games. They've scored the 8th amount of goals in the NHL. They're dead last in goals allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. 7-6 on Saturday. It was crazy.
They've done more than enough to win all of these games, to be honest. And right now they're 0-3 because they're goaltending.
Absolutely. All right, sir, take us home.
All right, hit the subscribe button for daily Minnesota sports entertainment. We have a write that down session, an accountability session. Our guy Mackey will likely be back for that as well. So we'll have a potential, not a bloodbath, but I'm curious on what the state of write that down is.
You predicted this last time as well when Phil was gone, and I believe you were vindicated and turned out to be right.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens on the latest edition of Write That Down. But hit the subscribe button for daily Minnesota sports entertainment. Of course, check out our Purple Daily YouTube page as well. Plenty of Vikings content there from our main show, from Realistic Randy, from Before We Die with Jesse Pierce, Thor Nystrom, and Ross Brendel. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back on Wednesday for an accountability session.